Hello everyone. This is a step-by-step implementation video where I'll first create web app in Azure App Services using the Azure portal and then deploy the ASP.NET web application. It's a sample web application to that web app using the Azure DevOps YAML pipeline. So let's start with the creation of web app in Azure App Services in the lab. I'm logged into Azure portal now. Let's look for web app. And using the marketplace, let's create a web app. Create a new resource group, RG web app, and let's name it as demo Shailen app web. Yep, that's available. Current runtime stack .NET 8 because I have sample ASP.NET 8 application available. It's Windows. Let's choose the region as Australia East. We don't have any app service plan available, so let's create a new one. ASP app service plan web app. And instead of the standard one, we'll use the free shared one. Free one. And we are not configuring any database or any other settings. So we'll just straight away create. In this video, I'm not focusing on creation of the web application. I'll create a separate video for that. So this will take few minutes to create the web application. So timing, I'll show you the repository where all the files are saved. So in the Azure repository, there is a repository name with the name web app, and all the files for ASP.NET web application are saved here. So once the web app is created, we'll create a YAML pipeline and try to deploy this ASP.NET application on that web app in Azure services. So let's go back to Azure portal and we can see the web app is created now. So the resource group is RG web app and it's under the ASP web app service plan. So using this link or the browse here, we can check the sample web app which is created. So your web app is running and waiting for your content. So instead of using the deployment center to upload the data, we'll use the Azure DevOps pipeline. So let's go back to Azure pipeline. Create a new pipeline. For the source, let's select Azure repositories. I have created a new repository web app. Azure DevOps pipeline looked into the code in the repository and it's providing recommendation that you have ASP.NET related application. So let's select the ASP.NET and this option is for build pipeline. So that means it will build and test the ASP.NET project. So using the assistant, now we have a build pipeline created. So here the trigger is main. That means if there are changes in the main branch of the repository, this pipeline will be triggered, but we don't want that. Let's remove it and set it up as none. And the image pool is Windows latest. There are certain variables. It's looking for the solution and then the build configuration as release. So there are multiple tasks in the steps. As you can see, first is installing the NuGet tool. Then it's restoring the solution of the NuGet using the command. And after that, it's building the solution, which means using the code which is present in the repository, it will convert it into deployable code. And then it's finally doing the testing. So I would like to make some changes here because it's a very basic way of representing. So let's add the stages and then stage, it's a build stage. And let's provide the display name. Let's copy this, use the multiple tabs, display name as the build stage. Then define the job here, jobs. and it will be a build job. And in the job, let's provide the display name also. So build job. And in this job, there will be multiple steps. And those steps have the different tasks, which you can see. Now I would like to add one more task here. For that, let's use the GUI, publish artifact. Publish build artifact. So it will publish all the artifacts which are built. This task is added. Now let's create another stage, which is deploy stage, and display name is deploy stage. Then the jobs, job, it will be a deploy job. And let's define the display name too. Now the steps under it. And in the steps, we'll define the task. But instead of creating each and every task, let's use the GUI or show assistant. Download build artifacts, current build, system artifact directory, and the specific files. Add. This task is added. And let's add another task where we'll deploy to app services. Select app service deploy. Instead of using the Azure subscription, let's use the service connection which we have created. This is service connection which provide Azure DevOps pipeline access on the Azure environment. So the service connection web app on Windows which we have created, and the app service name is Demo Shy App Web. Let's select this one. However, there is a slight change which we want to do. I'll just quickly show. Let me first add. It's added now. Because if you'll see here, it's using the default working directory. However, because we will be downloading the artifacts, so they will be present in artifact directory. So let's copy it here. And you can see we selected web app for Windows and it's running on the Windows agent, though it's using package for Linux. So Microsoft should fix this. Anyways, let's run this pipeline. Now there are two stages, as you can see. One is build stage, another one is deploy stage. So in the build stage, it will first install the NuGet installer, then restore it, means it will download all the dependencies, and then using the Visual Studio build, it will build the application and then test it, and finally download the artifacts. It's waiting for the agent. Oh, it has started now. So it's checking all the tasks. Now it's setting up the Microsoft hosted agent and downloading all the Git repository files. NuGet tool is installed now. The path variable and everything is set up. It will download all the dependencies and make the tool ready. Now this is important step where the build has started and it has started creating the solution from the files. This step usually takes around a minute or so. Now it's copying file and it's done. It took around 46 seconds. And in the Visual Studio test, and it's successful, then everything is fine. Then it published the artifact. As you can see, if we'll go back, go here, related, one publish, and you can see all the artifacts of the application are published. And this is the one which is the zip file will be used in the deployment. So let's go back to the deployment stage. Let's set up the environment, downloaded all the artifacts, as you can see here. And now it should be deploying using the service connection into the Azure. Now it's getting the ID from the connections. This is the web application which we have created in the Azure portal. And now using the deployment center, it's copying all the files there or updating the files in that directory. And all the changes are done. It should be finished soon. And it's done. It's finished. And if we'll quickly scroll down, it's finished. And in the post, it'll just remove the cache credentials or any orphan processes. So this pipeline is successful. Let's go back to the Azure application, refresh it, and browse the application now. And perfect. This is the sample web application. However, when we tried to browse the app previously, it was the default page. Now it's a different page. And I forgot to mention this. I created this sample ASP.NET web application using the Visual Studio 2022. And I've created a video on how to create a sample application and publish it to Azure DevOps repo. So you can click on the right-hand corner of your screen on the tags, or check the URL of that video in the description. To summarize this video, first we created a web application in the Azure App Service. Later, the ASP.NET sample web application files were copied into the repository. And once these two steps were done, then we created a pipeline where there were two stages. One is build stage and another one is deploy stage. In the build stage, the application was built and then the artifacts were published. And in the deploy stage, the build artifacts were first downloaded and then those artifacts were pushed into the Azure App Service. And once the pipeline successfully completed, the changes were made to Azure Web App. And when we browse it, it shows the new homepage. So that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much.